Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Happy Tuesday. It was a long weekend, huh? Not for me. I was sitting here for hours just doing my New Mexico courses. I'm not gonna lie. I'm like the worst student ever. I have like ants in my pants. What were you guys up to this weekend? How was your weekend?
I went to visit family in Albuquerque.
Oh,
That was nice.
fun. Fun. How long were you there for?
Yeah, we left on Saturday and came back Sunday.
Oh, it wasn't long enough.
Nope, it's never long enough, no matter how many days we stay over there.
You know, for me, I usually have like a 4-day cap. Like after 4 days, I'm getting anxious and I want to come back. But if it's less than 2 days, I feel like it was just not enough time. 4 days is my perfect, my perfect vacation. What about you, Connie? How was your weekend?
Good.
Good?
I had 2 open houses.
Oh, how did that go?
I was not too busy at all. I made a deal-to-deal open house on Saturday and Sunday at Franklin Ridge.
Gabrielle's listing. How did your deal-to-deal, how was the traffic on that?
Very good traffic, but it was the last time I made an open house with them because they don't have they sold those 2 properties that were available. They closed last week. No, one closed on Friday, and the other one will close this week. And they don't have any ready properties to sit till March.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So I have to wait till March and find something to sit on, any property to sit.
How much traffic did you get on the one on Franklin? Franklin, what was it? What's the address on that one? Franklin
6212 Franklin Ridge.
Franklin Ridge. How many families did you have?
Just one in the afternoon. I made an open house on the afternoon, and the Freitas was there in the morning, and he told me that he got 7 families.
7 families, and then you had one in the afternoon. Did you do a CMA on that property?
Yes.
Yes. What do you think of the price on that property? It's overpriced? Okay, so it's important, guys, whenever we do an open house for another realtor, even though it's Gabrielle, you have to give them feedback, because that property, we've been having agents sit on that property for about 3 to 4 weeks now. I would love to get some people in there this weekend also to sit it, but it's important that when we do these open houses, we return feedback to the agent that we're helping, because yes, they're giving us an opportunity to sit at the house and to get some buyer leads. However, that opportunity is not the best opportunity if it's a stale listing or if it's becoming a stale listing. You know, I don't know exactly what the situation with that listing is because it's not mine. So I don't know if they've had offers, if they have offers, but what I do know is that it's a house in a very desirable area. From the exterior, it looks nice. I haven't been inside yet. What did you think of the condition of it, Connie?
It is in good condition, but I talked to the owner because she came when I left the second time. I made an open house. So I talked to her, and she told me, no, you know what? I'm not in a hurry. She doesn't care if it's overpriced or not.
Well, so did you tell her about the price? Did you mention the price to her?
I told her about that. The price around there, the same price. The properties with the same price has a swimming pool. Have swimming pools, and this property doesn't have a swimming pool, and that one make it higher, more expensive.
So you're saying, based off what you've seen, homes being sold there at that price have a swimming pool, and this house does not have a swimming pool. So if you could price it at any price that you wanted it, that you think it would sell, what would the price on that house be?
Well, according to the market, that is a crazy market. You never know. You never know. People can
But
make
it's been
an
sitting on the
offer
market for at
lower.
least 3 weeks already. So that tells me that it probably needs a price reduction.
Exactly.
So what would you reduce the price to?
Well, I need to do it again because I did it 2 weeks ago, and you know that the market changes every day. So I need to make a market analysis again to see how many other properties sold in that time.
I'm not trying to pick on you, Connie. I want to dig into this because I feel like this is something that a lot of realtors deal with, and it's really important for everyone to know and understand how to work with it. Because if we have a listing and it's not selling, then it's kind of pointless. It doesn't matter if we have a listing but it's not selling. The whole goal of the seller introducing us as realtors, even if we're just that temporary realtor that's holding an open house for them, the whole goal is for us to get their home sold. So
okay,
in a situation like this, being that you're the visiting realtor, definitely you want to give that feedback to the realtor that has the listing. It's super important for you to give that information to the realtor that has the listing. Why? Because you're giving him the motivation that he needs to go back and talk to his seller. Assuming that he goes back and talks to his seller, let's pretend this was your listing for a second, okay? Because you guys are going to come across this a lot when it's your own listing. When are our hot weeks whenever we're working a listing? When should you have a really good idea? Like by what week should you have a really good idea of, okay, what's this listing going to do? Is it going to sell fast? Am I going to need to reduce the price? Do we have enough traffic? How long does it really take for you to get that information? Yeah, 2 weeks, 2 weekends. And we know that. We know that as realtors, right?
Let me say something. Since the lady said that she's not in a hurry, and maybe Gabrielle knows about it, and this lady is not in a hurry to sell that property, even that she has in mind another property that is an upper valley, is what she told me. I think they don't want to reduce the price because the owner doesn't want it. Even that the price around is her house is a little bit higher, is what I think. Since consider the owner's comments.
That's probably
what I always do every time I sit on any open house, I always report the traffic to the listing agents. Always, is the only one I report. If they ask for my opinion, or if I have a good confidence, I tell them, you know what, reduce the price because the house is overpriced or whatever, what I see.
Yeah, I think you should always feel confident giving the listing agent some feedback. So first, if you guys are sitting in open house for a listing that doesn't belong to you, make sure you're doing a CMA before you get there. That's, I think, where a lot of realtors go wrong, is going in, doing the open house, but not doing a CMA before you get there. If you don't do a CMA, you really don't even understand your product. So if you're sitting that open house for the weekend just as a visiting agent, there's nothing wrong with that. I used to do that all the time. I would ask everybody and anybody, hey, can I do an open house on your listing? Everybody. I would ask everybody. But it's important that you understand your product, because the people that are walking in the house, they don't know that that's not your listing. some of them might figure it out because there might be a different face on the sign, but remember, they just don't know the industry the way that we do. They're not looking out for certain things. So they walk in the house, they expect you to understand the house. And part of understanding the house is understanding what's the value in the house? What is it? Where's the pricing? Are we priced too high? Are we priced too low? Or are we priced just right? Because depending on where your pricing is also, there should be a different motivation that you're pushing on the buyers or the potential buyers that are walking in, right? Like if it's priced to sell and a family comes in and they're interested, you have to be a little more motivated to get them to write up that offer if they like it. Whereas if you know that it's overpriced and there's no other offers, well, you don't have to push on them so much. But they expect you to come to them with the correct information. And if you know something that they should know, for example, hey, this house is priced actually really good for the market. I'm not necessarily the listing agent, so I don't know how many offers it has on it, but I wouldn't doubt it if by the end of the weekend, it had another 2-3 offers on it. So if you like it, guess what? I don't even represent the seller. I can represent you 100%. Let's get that offer written up. It's a different vibe that you're coming at it. Whereas if it's overpriced and you know it, well, that's not your listing. You're not representing that seller. So now if I'm sitting at home and it's overpriced and my clients kind of like it, or the people that walked in the open house kind of like it, well, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to show them some more homes in the area that are better priced because I don't have loyalty to that seller. And if the client walked in and they absolutely didn't love it, it happens. Most people that walk into the house don't absolutely love it. So why am I going to pressure them into submitting an offer on a house that they don't love, that I know is overpriced? So I'm going to have a really hard time negotiating it. Why don't I focus on getting these clients, on building rapport with these buyers that just walked in and getting them through the next step and showing them some other options. So that's another thing. When you do your CMA, don't just do your CMA, but also look and see what other homes are active in that neighborhood. So when you go in to do your open house for that weekend, you are an expert in that neighborhood for the weekend. Even if it's not your open house, you can look more professional, more prepared, more knowledgeable than the listing agent just by preparing ahead of time, by doing a CMA and then looking at what's active in that area. Does that make sense? So, and I guess I say all of this because me duele cuando me dicen que only one person showed up. Me duele. You know, I've been there. I know what. Yeah, that's your time. You took the time out of you did that on Sunday, didn't you?
Yes.
Nobody likes to sit in an open house, in an empty open house on Sunday. Nobody likes that. So I feel for you, Connie, but this is how we make sure that even if we don't have a lot of traffic, if we only have that one couple that comes in, let's make the absolute most out of it.
And let me tell you something. Mm-hmm. It works a lot when we put it on the MLS. When we announce the open house on the MLS, it helps a lot to get a lot of traffic. Yes. So on Sunday, I noticed that it wasn't on the MLS. So I called Gabrielle. Gabrielle, please put it on the MLS because this is not the open house is not announced on the MLS.
Yeah, that's another thing. You guys, if you're doing an open house, if you're doing an open house for yourself or for somebody else, it has to go on the MLS because that's when you're going to get the most exposure. But if you're doing an open house for somebody else, guys, please bug them to get the open house on the MLS. Like at the end of the day, you're still doing something for their client also. You know, you're still saving them a weekend of not doing an open house. They're outsourcing part of their listing job. So the least they can do is put your property on the MLS. So whenever you're doing open houses for somebody else, make sure that when you come to them and say, hey, I want to do an open house for your listing, you ask all the right questions, and then you come prepared with what do you want to do. So for example, if you're doing an open house for somebody else and you want to do it on Saturday, ask for the Saturday. Ask for the Saturday. Don't feel obligated to like, well, it's because it's not my listing. Look, guys, this is a partnership. This is a partnership. Whenever you do an open house for another listing agent, treat each other like partners with respect and dignity, and understanding that each side is playing a vital role in this, right? So make sure that you ask them, you ask them for the time. In my experience, open houses that are too early don't do too good. So typically I like to keep open houses between like 11 and 3 p.m. Saturday and Sunday, somewhere between 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. Saturday and Sunday. Now, I also learned with the last team that I was on, we would do 2-hour open houses. And initially, I was not a fan of that because I was like, well, that's only 2 hours. You know, if I sit there for 4 or 5 hours, I can get more traffic. But what happens is that if you make your open house very short, 2 to 3 hours, the traffic has to come in that time. And if you market it correctly, MLS being one of those marketing avenues where you put it up at the beginning of the week, now people that want to go to open houses over the weekend, they've had all week to look at this listing. They've had all week to prepare for it. Like this is their event for the weekend. And a lot of times it'll be like a couple and they'll do their own mapping out of open houses. These are the open houses we're going to this weekend. And it might be 2 or 3, but if you've given them all week to prepare for it, they'll do that. So I would recommend also, Connie, don't do an open house for too long. Like you said, Ferris did his part and then you did a second portion. Well, he took all of your clients. He took all of the leads because everybody had already come and gone. You know what I mean? Yeah, the last few hours, everyone had already done their thing between the first few hours. So personally, I would probably never sit in open house after somebody else because they're usually going to get the most traffic. Now, if you really, really want to, and it's just kind of the only house you have available and, you know, it's down the street, it's not a big deal, then go for it. But don't spend too much time there either. Make it no more than 2 hours.
Well,
Okay.
let me tell you something according to my experience. It's unpredictable. On Sundays, most of the people go to church or have breakfast with their families. According to what the experience I have with builders,
Mm-hmm.
on Sundays, afternoons are the most busy time on Sundays. And but see, it's unpredictable. Even Saturdays, I sit certain hours in the morning, and there's a lot of traffic, but nothing in the afternoon, or vice versa.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
unpredictable.
that's true also.
And
That's true
let me
also,
tell you
Connie. It
something
is.
else. When I sit with Carefree Homes, sometimes I ask for the whole day.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I get traffic, sometimes I don't get any traffic. It's because when I make open houses on the west side, I live on the east side. I prefer to stay all day long, one day over there to get traffic and then stay at home.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
fine. I mean, and you're right. Open houses can be very unpredictable. I think just try to notice patterns in your open houses so that you're not wasting time. There's little patterns that I picked up on that I just kind of like, okay, based off these patterns, I'm not going to do an open house, you know, after this time or before this time, or certain days, certain holidays. And I was like you, Connie, I actually like doing my open houses on Sundays also. So, I mean, that's, you know, it's understandable that it's going to be unpredictable, but do try to catch on to these patterns, and then just make it a point that, especially if you're doing it for somebody else, make sure that that open house goes on the MLS, and it should be going on the MLS if it's yours too, but especially if you're doing it for somebody else, because that's really the only thing they have to do for you. They have to let the client know that there's going to be an open house and then put it on the MLS. It's not a lot to ask. So the sooner you let them know, like, hey, I want to do the open house, the more days you have to kind of like, hey, don't forget, you know what I mean? So that just is what it is. And a lot of times they don't realize, like, if Gabrielle doesn't do open houses anymore, he doesn't realize how important that one step is. So, but I'm glad you did. You were out there, and was that lead a good lead for you by any chance?
No, it was a couple with a realtor.
Okay.
And they were looking for one level, and this property is 2 levels.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, with that being said, definitely give Gabriel your feedback. I think he could use it. Yeah. Okay. I think he could use it. And
as I told you,
I know we're going to be doing open houses. Sorry. But yeah, I just know we're going to be doing open houses for him in the future also. And then with this listing, this is a nice listing, you know, so I would love it if somebody from our group could help get it sold. But I think he needs a little bit of feedback on that one. So, but all right, guys, let's go ahead and jump right in. I'm going to share my screen with you. And this one, so today's training, we're already on module 5, you guys. If you have been here since week 1 and you're on module 5, good job. Like, props to you. I get it. I'm telling you, I was in class all weekend this weekend, so I understand how this is not always the funnest thing to do during the day. But hopefully you guys are getting something out of it. Today's training, we are actually going to be going over the purchase agreement. Most of you that are on here are already experienced agents, so I won't go deep into it, but I do want to pull up a purchase agreement and kind of go over a couple of like frequently asked questions or common mistakes that a lot of realtors make, and then of course answer any questions that you guys have. So hopefully this training isn't super long. But before we start, we actually have a really good affirmation today. So I would love for you guys to, and I'm just going to leave it like this because I don't even want to open up this whole presentation. We're just going to jump right into the buyer's presentation. Well, yeah, that's fine. So everyone take yourself off of mute for a minute, and I would love for us to say this affirmation out loud. I would love for us to spread this energy all week. This is a great affirmation. So on the count of, let's see, is everyone off mute? Take yourself off mute real quick, guys. Blanca and Lorena don't have their video on, so they might be doing something else. All right, ready? On the count of 3, let's go. 1, 2, 3. Money flows to me freely and easily from expected and unexpected sources. Love it. Money flows to me freely and easily from expected and unexpected sources. I love this affirmation. Do you guys know Victoria? What's her last name? Does anyone know Victoria's last name? Anna, you know which Victoria I'm talking about? What's her last name? Oh, I can't hear you. Let me look up her last name really quick. If you guys aren't following her, you guys need to follow her. What's that? Does somebody know what Victoria's last name is? Victoria. Why do I not know her last name?
Which one?
Oh, Olivia. With Sumas. Okay. Victoria Olivia with Sumas. I've had the privilege to be on her team a couple of times, and Victoria is a very adamant believer of affirmations. And this woman, she would give us an affirmation every day. She, not to give it to us, to give it to herself. She would give herself affirmations every day. And I used to be very shameful about talking about money. It's not something that I talked about. I had, like, when I first became a realtor and I had to ask my clients for their earnest money or option money, I hated it. It was like my least favorite thing to do. And then I met Victoria, and Victoria is just such a beautiful, radiant soul. If you guys have not had the opportunity to meet her, I hope you guys meet her one day. She's a realtor here in El Paso. She's with Summers. She's been a realtor for a while. But what's so special about Victoria is her attitude and her mindset. And just she's so genuine. And one of the things that I love most about her was just how adamant she was about affirmations. And if you follow her on social media, you'll see that she posts affirmations all the time. She shares these affirmations with the world. Well, I remember we would be sitting in our trainings, and she would, she would always give us a couple of little nuggets to hold on to. And she would give us her affirmations for the morning, and her morning affirmation sounded very similar to this one. And that's why I'm remembering her right now. Money flows to me freely and easily from expected and unexpected sources. And I remember her saying that she looks herself in the mirror every morning and she would give herself her affirmations. And one of her affirmations sounded very similar, if not exactly like this affirmation. And she would have us do it in class. Money flows to me freely and easily from unexpected and expected sources. And it was something that was very uncomfortable to me at first. But now it's something that I understand to be part of your mindset shift. So I can give you guys all the tools, all the trainings, all the scripts. I can give you guys my buyer's presentation, my listing presentation. I can give you guys all my clients. And if you don't have the right mindset, you'll do nothing with that information. Nothing. Because everything starts up here. So it's really important for you guys, if you're not already in the habit of motivating yourself by giving yourself these affirmations, if you're not already in the habit of feeding your mind healthy thoughts. So by healthy, I mean positive, I mean encouraging. Like, you got to be your own best friend. That's what that looks like, and that's what that sounds like. And this has been a journey for me, and that's why I share it with you guys, because it's something that I heard and I heard and I heard and I really didn't understand. And I feel like I still don't 100% understand, because I'm still working through it myself. And I think we all kind of are. But at the end of the day, the point that I'm trying to make is your mindset, your attitude, your self-talk, this is more important than any bit of information that I'm giving you, any tool or resource that I'm giving you about how to close a transaction, what script to use, where to go get your clients, how to door knock, how to do open houses. If this is mastered, then everything else gets mastered. Right, Lorena?
Which one?
Everything. I saw you nodding like yes. It's a personal growth venture is really what it is, right?
It's right.
So I would love to hear from you, Lorena, because you've been doing this for a while. You have a very you have so much experience, like, under your belt, not just the realtor experience, but you have so much other experience, professional experience from the past. I would love to hear, like, just share a little bit of your story about how this has changed your life and how much you're able to give back because of it. I'm gonna get the door
Oh
really
my
quick. Anai's at the door. But go ahead.
No, you know that my English is awful.
Sorry, Anai was at the door and it was locked. Oh, I'm muted. Sorry.
Excuse me again?
Okay, sorry. I had to run to get the door because Anai was there and it was locked.
Okay, I'm so sorry. I'm in the middle of a closing, a very hard closing.
Oh, okay. You're fine, Lorena.
I have to take this call.
It's okay. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Thank you. So sorry.
It's okay. But yeah, guys, I just wanted to share that with you because I think it makes a really big difference in just the way that we move through our day, through our week, through our business. And again, today's course is going to be pretty simple in the sense that we're just going to review the 1 to 4 residential contract. But you know, January is coming to a close already. We've already been doing this for almost a whole month. So I think it's really important for us to sometimes just go back to the basics. And this is the basics. I hope you all are spending some time on your mind, on your mindset. Make sure you guys are reading books, read books on your own time, do Audible. I don't have a whole lot of time to sit down and actually read. So something that I do is I have Audible on my phone. I listen to it in the car. I listen to it while I'm getting ready. And then work on whatever it is that you know you need to work on. So for some of you, working on your mindset is really what you need to work on. If you're constantly doubting yourself, if you don't have much self-confidence, if you feel low a lot of times, then you really have to work on your mindset. So get some books that are going to help you work on your mindset. If you are really like diving deep into this wealth building journey and that's where you're at right now and your mindset is good and you're more of like I know I can do this, but I don't know what to do. Well, then you dig deeper into those wealth books. I'm going to give you guys a couple of recommendations. I love right now, my favorite author is Gabrielle Bernstein, for mindset stuff, for mind, energy, soul, spirit. She's got very, very spiritual books in the sense of like, hey, the universe has your back is one of her books. And that's really what it is. Like, hey, you got this. You've got more power within yourself than you believe that you do. And she kind of goes through what you need to know to better understand that and to move accordingly. If you guys are doing the wealth stuff, Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. Again, it's a mix between mindset and wealth. And it really couples like why it's so important for you guys to have the best mindset and how that can help you grow your wealth. So Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. If you guys are in real estate, you don't feel super challenged, you want to learn how to get into investment properties, Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. That book, again, very simple concept, but he explains the importance of how to use your money and how to have your money work for you as opposed to us working for money. Because remember, right now we're all working for money, right? We're salespeople. So if we don't sell, we don't get paid and we don't have money. But it's when you start investing your money and it's when you start making the right money moves that your money starts working for you. And what we get in return is time. And time is the most valuable asset that any of us can have. It's not money. And so that's where you start to shift your chase of not money, it's what you can do with that money. Now, once you get that money, where are you going to place it? Yes, I want an abundance of money coming to me. Why? Because now I can invest it into a real estate property that's going to give me passive income. If I have passive income, that means I don't have to work so hard. I don't have to be out knocking doors to get leads. I don't have to be at an open house every single weekend. I don't have to be showing homes until 8 o'clock in the evening. Now I can have a little bit more of my time freed up to spend with my daughter and my family and my friends hanging out, which is really where I want to be, right? So that's the idea and the concept behind Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Again, those are just 3 books that I want to throw out to you guys. Gabrielle Bernstein, The Universe Has Your Back, Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Get one of those. Start your reading for the year. And I guarantee you, you guys won't regret it. So again, we're going to jump into the 1 to 4 residential contract. Begin by reading all your contracts. Of course, if you are brand new, the first step that you want to take is read the contracts. A lot of times we get agents that are new or newish, and they just don't even read the contract. Just read through it. Read through it at least one time. Why? Because the more you understand it, the better you're going to be able to explain it to your client with confidence. You don't want to sit down with a client and have to review a contract that you don't understand. I've done that before. It's embarrassing. It's one of those things, like, you look unprofessional, you look unprepared, and you just look like you don't know what you're doing. So if you're brand new, get a 1 to 4 residential contract agreement and read through it. Just read through it. It's going to make it easier for you to understand what exactly goes in these blanks, and then easier for you to present it to your client. And then, of course, practice writing offers on a variety of property types, loan types, price ranges. Practice makes perfect. We do have, Ethel's not on here today, is she? So Ethel is our transaction coordinator for our group. She's awesome at all of the administrative work when it comes to the contracts. So if I'm not readily available to answer any of your questions, or if you're in the middle of filling out a contract and you're just a little unsure about what goes in where, she's always more than willing to help you guys out with that. So I recommend, if you're not friends with Ethel, she's a good person to be friends with. She's awesome when it comes to helping, and she knows all that good stuff. Let me open up of course, let me open up a 1 to 4 residential contract. You know what? Let's go into the zip forms. And again, I'm not going to go over it in detail, but I'm just going to go over some frequently asked questions and commonly made mistakes. If you have any questions at any point, though, please stop me. So let me open this up real quick. Don't want to shop zip forms. All right. This one right here.
Therapy, that one?
Mm-hmm. Sorry, it's taking a minute to load, guys. And we have been putting all of the trainings on YouTube, guys. So if you're not already subscribed, make sure you subscribe. That way, whenever we put up a new training, if it's something that you missed or you had to step away from, you guys will get a notification that a new video went up. Come on now. Just open up a 1 to 4. It's taking so long. It's almost there. Almost there. Almost there. All right. First page. You guys know that in here we get the parties. On the property, this is where your legal address goes. Guys, the legal address is super duper important. Something that I learned, and for those of you that are experienced, if there's anything that you can throw in that will help us, anybody else, anything that you've gone through or learned, please let us know, because you guys know every transaction there's a learning experience. So when it comes to your property address, always make sure that the legal address is in here. If it's not in here, it's not going to go through underwriting. But speaking of legal addresses, how many times have you had a client that has been divorced and they say, oh, I have the divorce decree, and in the divorce decree, the property, the judge said that the property is going to be, they've given the property to me. That's happened, right? And they tell you, I have it. Ask to see the divorce decree, because a lot of times these lawyers, I think that they maybe just don't know where to get the legal address, or they don't know what the legal address is, and they leave that blank on the contract. And when they leave that blank on the divorce decree, when you go to sell it, what happens is that the other spouse has to end up coming back and signing, and depending on where this couple is with their divorce, it can get very messy. So if you're ever dealing with a divorce, ask to see the divorce decree right away and go and look and make sure that the legal address is typed in there. If it's not in there, you send it right back with them and their lawyer, and you say, go and get this fixed by your lawyer ASAP. Do whatever needs to be done for the lawyer to fix this ASAP, okay? Now down here, exclusions. Make sure that when you guys are taking on a listing, you're going over the improvements, accessories, and exclusions with your client. I know we're going over the 1 to 4, but I'm going to kind of jump around because most of you have done one of these at this point.
I can't see the contract on the screen.
Oh, you can't? Hang on. How do I do this?
It should be showing up though.
Okay, hang on. You guys can't see my contract either? No? Okay, hang on. New share. There it is. That's not it. That's not it at all. Okay. Pues no lo veo. Okay, hang on. Sorry, guys. I thought you guys could see it. Okay, can you see that?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Listings, just make sure that you guys, when you take on a listing, you go over the improvements, accessories, and exclusions. And this is on your listing agreement also. But just make sure that you go over it with your clients whenever you're listing the property, so that there's no confusion as to what's going and what's staying. If you see in here, there's things like blinds, window shades, draperies, garage door opener, kitchen equipment. All of these things are supposed to stay. The mount for the TV, that stays also. So just make sure that you guys go over this in the listing agreement with your clients so that there's no confusion. It'll save you an ugly conversation with them later. Okay. Everyone knows how to fill in the sales price. Up here, you're going to put in the down payment, and then the loan amount, and they should equal out to the purchase price. Okay. License holder disclosure. This is super important. Our 1-to-4 residential contract agreement has actually been updated within the last couple of years to make this a lot more visible to us so that we don't forget it. So remember, if you have any interest in the property or you're related to somebody that you're working with, make sure that you disclose this on here, okay? Earnest money, option money. Earnest money, did you guys know that you could make your offer a little bit more enticing by offering additional earnest money? So for example, let's say you guys get you're working with a buyer and they like the house that has 6 different offers on it. Well, one of the things that you can do is you can offer a nice amount of earnest money. That's something that I like to do because that money is going to go towards the purchase of their home anyways. If they're serious about the property, you can always make your offer look a little more generous by offering a more generous earnest money. You can also split it up into 2. So you can say, okay, how about we give you $1,000 in earnest money? But after 11 days, which is the day, or 12 days, which is a couple days after my option period, I'll give you another $1,000 in earnest money. Okay. And you can do something like this because how many other realtors are doing this? Not very many are doing this. This is something that can make your offer look that much more appealing to the seller without having to break the buyer's bank. Okay. Title policy. Another thing that you all should keep in mind is that the title policy is negotiable. So something that you could also do to make your offer look a little more appealing is have the buyer pay for the title policy. Oh, that was already on buyer. You could always have the buyer pay for the title policy. It's going to be an extra cost to them, but it's something that most, oh, this one's buyer, that most, plus I saw buyer over here on the left. And he's laughing at me. Okay. You guys can always switch this up. This is negotiable. And it's just a little something that you guys can keep in mind. This is another one. Will amend to read shortages at the expense of the seller. You can always change this to buyer. Most of our like the regular lots that we have don't go through this. So you can always change that to buyer. Of course, you need to talk to your buyer about all of this, make sure they understand what they're agreeing to. But you could always switch that just to make your offer a little more appealing. And I'm going to go over what's going to make the offers more appealing because I know that's what you guys are dealing with right now. Right now, we're dealing with all of these bidding wars. So what's going to make our offer more appealing? Survey after 5 days at seller's expense. That's typically what that looks like. You can always give them more or less time. Survey isn't usually a deal breaker, so I think I'm going to be good with that one. Objections. Buyer may object in writing to defects or exemptions or encumbrances to the title. So what is your client going to be using the property for? If they're going to be using it for residential use, then they have 10 days after the buyer receives the commitment to make sure that the property still can be used for what they're trying to use it for. So when we're working with residential properties and we're just buying and selling residential, it doesn't seem like that big of a deal. But let's say that you were selling a property that is a mixed use property. You know how downtown, we have a lot of mixed use properties. We have properties where they might have an office unit, they might have a studio upstairs, and then they might even have like a little grocery store. Well, you need to make sure to put in this line what exactly your client, if you're representing the buyer, what exactly your client is going to be using that property for. Because if they're buying that property expecting to make money off of it, off of an office that they're going to rent out, a studio that they're going to rent out, and a grocery store that they're going to run, and then they go through the sale, and something happens where, you know what, the permitting on this is not correct, you can't actually do the grocery store thing anymore. Well, this is what's going to protect your client to not have to close on the deal and be able to get out of that and get their earnest money back. Okay. Title notices, the property is not subject to, so just remember that if it is subject to an HOA, this is where you would fill it in. Property condition, seller's disclosure. The seller's disclosure is super important, guys. Make sure that if you're taking on a listing, get the seller's disclosure up front. When you first get that listing agreement signed, get your disclosure up front. Why? Because if you're a seller and you still haven't gotten that disclosure, and then you get an offer like this where they want that disclosure in 3 days, how long does it typically take for your seller to fill out that seller's disclosure? It usually takes about 3 days to get it back. It's not nice of us to give our clients a document of 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 pages long and say, here, I need this back tomorrow. Like, you need to give them time to do that. So if you're taking on the listing, make it a habit to give them the seller's disclosure when you go in for that listing appointment. So when you get the listing appointment, take the seller's disclosure with you, print it out, and leave it there. Now, whenever you go back to get the keys, that's when you pick up the seller's disclosure. So make it a habit. You take that with you up front, assuming that we're going to get the listing. So I'm going to take my listing agreement and I'm going to take my listing seller's disclosure, because I'm assuming that I'm going to get the sale. You always assume that you're going to get the sale. And then they might say, okay, you know what, we're ready to sign. But obviously the property needs to be, we need to do some cleaning. We need to prep it. We're not going to put it up for another 2 to 3 weeks. Okay. In the meantime, I'm going to leave this seller's disclosure notice with you. Remember, the seller's disclosure, you cannot help your client with the seller's disclosure. You cannot help your client with the seller's disclosure. No ifs, ands, or buts about it, guys. Do not help your client with this. If they don't speak English, you tell them to go and get their uncle or cousin or nephew or niece and have somebody else explain it to them. This seller's disclosures are one of the main reasons that realtors get sued. Okay, so for your protection, never, ever, ever help a client with a seller's disclosure. You just let them know, hey, on this disclosure, you make sure you disclose everything that you know about the property. This is also one of the biggest reasons that clients get sued. So make sure to let them know, hey, for your protection, you need to ensure you disclose everything you know about the property. If there's something about the property that they did not disclose, you have to advise them to disclose it. So a lot of times they'll give you information before they fill this out, and they might tell you something like, there was a roof leak 3 years ago, but since then we got it fixed. So it doesn't matter, right? We got it fixed. Well, it does matter on the seller's disclosure. It has to go on the seller's disclosure. So if you get that seller's disclosure back and you notice that it's not on there, you need to give it back to them and ask them to put it in there. Why? Because now that you know that information and it's not being disclosed, you will be held liable. So just make sure that everything that you know gets disclosed, and make sure you tell them to disclose everything on there. Whether they do or don't, that's on them. But as long as you told them that they needed to disclose everything for their protection, now the seller's disclosure does protect them. A lot of times they think, well, if I disclose everything, I'm I'm not going to get the price that I want. In reality, the seller's disclosure is to protect them. It's to protect them, to make sure that nobody comes and tries to sue them afterwards, because the buyer has the right to know what the property condition is, in all true, in all honesty, what it is. So
Denise, one question.
yeah.
Recently I got a property in which I gave the seller's disclosure to my client. He filled it as he thought was better. And the buyers read it, accepted it, and signed it. Everything was going good and everything. But when I put that seller's disclosure into SkySlope, then Edgar called me, put a little note there saying it's not completely answered in every single space. So I to be honest, I have trouble in my mind understanding that if it was already signed by both parties, he wanted me still to ask the client to go back. But for me, in my mind, when things are signed already by both parties, I shouldn't mess with them. What do you think about that?
So
I don't know.
In Texas, we have a reputation for leaving stuff blank. That's something that I've heard, and I've seen it actually. Like if you go to New Mexico, they do not leave one blank. They will not leave one blank. And I think this is one of those things that we get very complacent on. And I know because I do it too. But in reality, Edgar's our compliance manager. If he says that it has to happen, we have to make it happen.
But then we keep an eye on telling our clients, don't leave any single blanks, because otherwise then, it was already signed, everything was going on.
Yeah, unfortunately, this is just a learning experience for you, because now you have to go back and tell the client, and you don't want to do that. I understand, but now for next time, review it. You're not going to tell them what to put on it, but you just review it and let them know, like, you have to answer this to the best of your ability, and we do need it filled out completely. If you don't know, just put that you don't know.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I wish I could get you out of that, but no. He gets on me about stuff too. I know. All right. So moving on to line D, acceptance of property condition. So this one's really important, guys. It specifically tells you here, buyer accept the property as is, provided seller at seller's expense shall complete the following specific repairs and treatments. Do not insert general phrases such as subject to inspection that do not identify specific repairs and treatments. So typically when you're submitting an offer, you're going to submit it as buyer accepts the property as is. When would we be able to fill out this line here? When would it be appropriate to use this line? Anaí.
Me? Oh my God.
Can you repeat the question, please?
The question is, if we're typically filling out buyer accepts the property as is, when would it be appropriate for us to check off number 2 and to fill out this blank right here? It says buyer accepts the property as is, provided seller at seller's expense shall complete the following specific repairs and treatments.
When you're requesting there before even getting the inspection done.
Something very specific, like what? Like what, Anna?
Maybe if something is going to be problem to pass the appraise.
No, not even. For example, I used it once because my client said, I will not buy this house if they not, for example, replace the carpets. And we used that, we requested that specifically before we even started any process. Yes. For them, it was important to solve that, or otherwise they wouldn't buy it.
Yes, I guess. That's a perfect example, Anna. Thank you. If it's not something super specific, then it doesn't belong in here. If you're trying to say, well, Not until we get the inspection report. Nope, sorry, it doesn't go in there. That's why you guys get your option period so that you can review the option. It's gonna cost your client. So a lot of times they say, ay, pero es que ya veo la condición, you know, I see the condition of it is not very good. Y pues no sé. Well, look, if we're getting it at a really good price, and if the repairs would be, I don't know, they have their limit. Let's say that their limit is $20,000. If the repairs could come out to $20,000 or less, would it make sense for you? Yes. All right, then look, you're gonna risk $100 to find out. It's real estate. There's risk involved with real estate. So sometimes you just have to tell your client, look, I can't guarantee you that the inspection report's gonna come out exactly the way that you want it, but would you be willing to find out for $100? Because at the end of the day, that's really all they'll lose, right? So that's why this doesn't get filled out. And that's how you explain that to the client also, that you are purchasing the property as is. Now, once the inspection comes through and the appraisal comes through, we have an opportunity to renegotiate. Nothing is guaranteed or promised, but is it worth it for you to try for $100 for option period? And that's me. I charge my clients $100 for option period. I know other realtors do as little as like $50, which, you know, I feel personally you should have a little bit more skin in the game. I feel like when they have a little bit more skin in the game, they're a little less willing to put in offers that they're not serious about. So that's just my take on that. Residential service contracts. So in here is where we're negotiating whether they're going to get a home warranty or not. I'll speed it up. We're almost done. Home warranty. Now, keep in mind, we have a bunch of really nice home warranty services available to us. You guys know I'm a fan of Old Republic. Also, if you work with AAA home inspections, they have a home warranty that they offer. So theirs is kind of nice because if you get the inspection with them, they'll give you 16 months, no, 16 or 18, 18. Excuse me, 18 months of coverage after that. And I want to say their packages are pretty similar, like $500. We also have Fidelity. Fidelity is a pretty good home warranty. The biggest thing on this is if you're representing the buyer, make sure you let the title company know who they should either be ordering the home warranty with, or you order it and then send that invoice. Title companies, at least the title companies that I work with, they do a pretty good job of asking who we're going to use. But I have heard that, you know, in some situations, the title company is just trying to finish up and they're trying to close and they'll order the home warranty with whoever they want to order the home warranty with. You guys should all have your home warranty partner or partners. You guys should have your go-tos, because if you're representing the buyer and you're telling them, hey, I'm going to get you this home warranty and the seller is going to pay for it, you want to know a little bit about that home warranty. You want to make sure that that home warranty company is going to take care of your client. That's why I'm a huge advocate of Old Republic with Martha Maldonado. If you need her contact information, let me know. She's always done an exceptional job of taking care of our clients, not just taking care of them when they need the warranty, but you can even have her call after closing, like, hey, we just closed on a house and they purchased one of your warranties. Do you mind giving them a quick call to give them a run through of what the warranty looks like? And she'll do that for them. And that adds to the experience that the client is having with you, because they're getting something of value, but if they don't really understand it, well, how much value is it to them? They're probably never going to use it. Whereas if they have Martha call them themselves and Martha gives them a quick 10-minute review of, hey, this is how you can use it. This is what you need to look out for. If ever there's a situation, here's my number, call me. That's one less thing for you to worry about. You've just added an extreme amount of value to your clients, and your customer service is top notch. Okay. Closing date. This is the day that we're anticipating to close. Please, 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 please give your lenders at least 30 days to close. So if you're submitting an offer on a Friday, anticipate that they're not going to get back to you until Monday, and then give yourself 4 weeks from that Monday to close. Possession will come upon closing and funding. So most clients are getting possession of the home They're going to get their keys once it closes. However, we also have the option of doing a temporary residential agreement, a residential lease agreement. So this could be used for buyers or sellers whenever their timeline is off, okay? It could be used for either or. This is a really helpful tool for you guys, especially for your sellers. So a lot of times we have a seller, for example, that's selling a property, but they're building a new home and they don't want to move out of the property until their home is built. So they know that their completion date is going to be April 30th, let's say. So now you guys have to be careful with this, because you know that these new home builders, they give us a date and then they extend and they extend. And right now we're going through more extensions than normal because there's a lumber shortage nationwide. This isn't just El Paso. There's no lumber, there's no wood. Okay, so that means that it's hard for our builders to finish building in time. So if you're going to do this, you have to be very careful and give yourself more time than you think you need. So if the builder's saying that the house is going to be done in April, give yourself till May. If you guys are signing up clients for new builds, tell them what to expect, because it's just going to make your life easier. Let them know up front, look, I know the builder's telling you that it's going to be done in April, but from my experience and what I know, it's probably going to get delayed. I want you to know up front what to expect. That way you're not driving yourself crazy waiting in April and it's not done. I need to let you know this. They're going to finish it as soon as they can finish it, but here's what's going on. Okay. We can also, a buyer could actually move into the house prior to the purchase. They could actually lease that house a couple of weeks before they actually close on it. So let's say the buyer's like, hey, my lease is up. I have nowhere to go. Can I please rent that house while we finish the financing? That's a possibility also. Okay. So we're not going to dive deep into this form, but that is an option for you guys to keep in mind. Special provisions. In special provisions, you guys can always use this if you didn't have enough room somewhere else. For example, on the legal address, if you ran out of room, if it didn't fit in there, you can always put it in special provisions. In special provisions, we might have, special provisions is not something that gets used super duper often, because keep in mind, our contract is already made to allow us to submit all the information that we need in here. But can somebody give us an example of what we might put in a special provision?
I haven't used it to state that the house must be delivered clean up, because most of the time they deliver the house with a very messy thing.
That's a good one, Lorena. Yeah, you can actually request, if you're representing the buyer, request that they clean the house prior to delivering the house, or even clean the yard. I know sometimes, like, especially we're about to head into spring. Once it starts raining, you guys know that the weeds from one day to the next, like one day to the next, you have 3 foot tall weeds in the front yard. Your buyer is going to be so mad if that's how the house is delivered to them. So that's a great one, Lorena. Make it a habit to drop that in the special provisions. All right, settlement and other expenses. If you are asking for assistance with your closing costs, this is where that belongs. Okay. Read through your contract. A lot of this stuff you're going to see on the general information and notice to buyers and sellers. You'll see it on a lot of our other disclosures, but read through your contract so you understand all of this. Now, notices. I learned this one the hard way, so I'm gonna tell you guys a story on this one. Notices. So line number 21, all notices from one party to the other party must be in writing and are effective when mailed, hand delivered, or transmitted by fax or electronic transmission as follows. So in these lines, a lot of realtors like to leave these blank. And they like to say, well, I don't want to put my client's information on there because now the other realtor can reach out and they should be talking to me. Well, the reason why it's really important for you guys to put at least one of these lines, at least fill in one of these lines, and make sure that one of the lines is filled in on the other party. So make sure that the seller or the buyer, whoever you're not representing, make sure they fill in at least one, is because if there are title issues and title has to give a notice, they come here and they look at on this line right here and they say, okay, who do I have to, how do I reach out to this person? So for example, have you ever had a hard time getting the release of earnest money signed? You've had a hard time getting the release of earnest money signed? And who do you need to call and talk to?
Title company?
The title company. If the agent's not helping you, then you go to the title company. And the title company comes straight here. And if it's blank and you didn't make sure that the seller's agent put something in here and you can't get a hold of the seller and you can't get a hold of the broker, you're stuck. You can't get that earnest money back.
But can you put your information, your email instead of my client's email?
You got to put your,
I have seen it a lot of times.
put your client's email and make it a habit to ask them to put their client's either email, address, phone number, something. And if you have to explain this story to them, explain it. Now, I will say that it was not in El Paso where this happened. This happened in, what is it called? McLean, Texas. I sold a property in McLean, Texas. So hopefully we'll never have that issue with the title officers here, because I think that they're used to seeing our contracts look like this because we see these a lot, right? Mm-hmm. But I just don't want you guys to ever have to go through it, because it took me like 4 months to get my clients' earnest money back. It was earnest money that they were entitled to, and it was just another agent that would not answer my phone calls. I had to semi-stalk this guy, like figure out, I had to ask other brokers in the area, hey, like, are you friends with this guy? Like, can you help me? You know, it was a horrible experience. So that's why I say for this, really the other realtor should not be talking to your client, and you should not be talking to their client anyways. So just keep this for your protection. Make sure that they put their client's email or address, just in case it ever comes up that you need to use it. Okay. Agreement of parties. This is where you're going to check off what documents are being included with this contract. So remember, with the very first agreement, the 1-4 residential purchase agreement, if it's not on here, then we're saying that it's not there, that it doesn't exist. So if there's any type of dispute, let's say you guys have a non-realty item addendum, but you didn't put it in here, and this is what your 1-4 residential service agreement looks like. And on the non-realty item addendum, you said that they're going to get the refrigerator. And the seller doesn't want to release the refrigerator. Well, at closing, guess what we're going to do? We're going to go back here and we're going to say, look, there's no non-realty item addendum in here. So it's not part of the agreement. Okay, so make sure that everything that's going to be part of the agreement is in here. Another one that you guys, go ahead.
I'm also including in all my deals the COVID-19 addendum.
COVID-19 addendum?
You never know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. And then the other one is there's another one that I want you guys to make sure you're using also. The addendum for, it's not listed here. The addendum for conventional loans. If you're working with a conventional buyer, remember, they're not protected on the third party financing to make sure that the appraisal value is what it needs to be. That the third-party financing addendum doesn't cover our conventional buyers. So if your conventional buyer doesn't want to pay more than what the property appraises, make sure you're including the addendum. What is it called? I want to make sure I tell you.
Appraised something for appraised value.
It is there. Let me tell you. It is. Addendum concerning to the right to terminate.
Oh, there we are.
Lender's
Yep.
appraisal, the last one on the left.
This one right here, guys. Thank you, Anna. This one right here, addendum concerning right to terminate due to lender's appraisal. So that's the one that you use for conventional loans. If you're doing a conventional loan, you want to protect your client and make sure that the property values what it's supposed to value. Okay. Now, if they're putting a 20% down payment, you're probably not going to need it. But if you're working with the typical home buyer, you definitely want that in there. Termination option. Another way to make your offer look extra sweet is ask for less time and provide more money. I do not send offers with less than $100 worth of termination. This is even when I represent my buyer. Okay. Why? Because they need to have skin in the game. They need to understand that we don't just submit offers on properties just for fun. We're serious about this. We're trying to get them to closing. Okay. $100 is not a lot for them to lose if they're serious about the house. And if they find something on the inspection that wasn't worth it, $100 is not a lot for them to lose either to have gotten that information. Okay. You can sweeten the deal by asking for less time. This is, again, why I love working with AAA. AAA will typically get you in within 2 days for your inspection, and you'll get the report back that same day. That means that I could have my repairs negotiated in 5 days if I needed to, okay? Consult an attorney before signing. Always understand that you can consult an attorney. I always let my clients know this. I'm not an attorney. So if you would like to speak to somebody, please don't hesitate. And on here, I just write TBD for to be determined. I do this for my clients, for all of my contracts, so that they know and understand, hey, if you ever at some point get an attorney, you want me to write them in here, we've got it in there. I'm not saying that you don't have an attorney. I'm not saying that you do have an attorney, to be determined. You might have one day. And then last but not least, make sure that you guys are filling out as much as possible on this last page for the broker information. Fill out as much of this as you can. Fill out as much of it as you can on the other end, but make sure that when you get this back, they have filled all of it out. Okay. We also don't want blanks on this one. This page right here, guys, is how you are able to communicate with the other party. This is where they should be giving you their broker's information. Now, we would all love to assume that the agent that we're working with is going to be great and available, but look, stuff happens. Sometimes it's an accident. Sometimes it's not even that they don't want to answer your phone. Sometimes they're sick. Sometimes people go into the hospital. Sometimes they don't have service in their phone. Stuff happens. So make sure that you ensure that they fill all of this out. And before we finish, I want to touch on this down here. Okay. What happens if the MLS says that there is a 2.5 commission and I put 3% commission? I'm representing the buyer. I have 3% commission here, and the listing agent never changed it to 2.5. When they send me the counter offer, they never switched this. They left it at 3%. Am I going to get paid 2.5 or am I going to get paid 3%?
3%.
3?
3.
3? Connie says 3. Lorena says 3. Norma, what do you say? If the MLS says 2.5 and this says 3, and the listing agent executed this contract and never changed it to say 2.5, are we getting 2%, 2.5, or are we getting 3? We're getting 3? 3. Anais says 3. Everybody says 3. You're wrong.
But what happens if you negotiate to higher the commission?
If you negotiate it, you need to make sure that you have it in writing. Don't do it over the phone. Okay, do it on an email, do it on a text message, but just by having 3% here is not enough for you to get the 3%. Because
MLS is not an official contract. This is the official, it's the
it's
contract.
not an official contract, but if you read it right here, it says listing broker has agreed to pay blank 3% total. Escrow agent is authorized to direct. No, it's actually not here. It's up further on the contract. There's a part in the contract where it says that the commissions have been agreed to on a separate contract, and that separate contract is the listing agreement. So it's in here somewhere. I have to look for it. I don't want to keep you guys too long because I'm already past time, but it is in there somewhere. And that these parts of the contract, these are just kind of like informational. This is not even, we're not even agreeing to anything. Look, we executed the contract up here. This down here is just information. So it does say in there, and I would have to find it for you, but it says in there, the compensation is agreed to on a separate agreement. That separate agreement is your listing agreement. So now, let's say there was a huge dispute and the listing agreement said that it was 3%. Well, then yeah, you have a case to now you have a foot to stand on. But if they had initially said 2.5 and the MLS says 2.5 and you did not negotiate this with the agent via email or something, get it in writing, they could always go back and say on the MLS it says 2.5. That's what we agreed to.
But what happens if a title company doesn't look, didn't look in the MLS?
It's gonna be a
and
mess.
they get this contract executed?
It's gonna be a mess. It's gonna be a mess. Because now you're gonna have realtors fighting over commission and you're gonna say, well, I deserve my 3% and they deserve my 2%. That's why I'm going over this with you guys. Because if it really is 3%, you need to get it in writing on an email.
It will help if you get initial in this part from both sides.
That could help. That could help. But again, the best way to do it is to have something in writing that says per hour. Like if you talk to them over the phone, you can talk to them over the phone because I understand that. I like to negotiate over the phone. I like to speak to people. But before you hang up, say, hey, once we get off the phone, I'm going to shoot you a quick email. Can you just confirm that everything that we went over is what it's going to be? And you write up the email and it just says, hi, Carlos, per our conversation, we will be switching the buyer's broker commission to 3%. Can you please confirm? And all he has to do is send you an email back that says, yes, confirmed, or yes, it's a deal, or good to go, or whatever. And now you can leave it at 3%. Now you can get the initials. And now you've covered everything that you needed to cover. Okay. So that's it, you guys. Thank you so much for your patience. I know I went over, but I think we got some good information. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys learned something from it. Do you guys have any questions?
I do. Denise, can you show me the first page, please? I need to know, to see something to ask you about it. Where's the title company? Show
the title company?
The escrow agent. Yes.
Right here.
Okay. It's because one day one of the listing agents mentioned about the name of the escrow agent, and she told me, oh, everybody does this. You always put the name of the escrow agent, should be the title company. So no way.
So your escrow agent does go here.
Should be the name of the escrow.
Yeah, no, you want to put the name of the escrow agent in there. Even the title company, when they get it, they need to assign it to somebody. So I'm sure if they get it and it doesn't have a name, they might just kind of like give it to whoever, but you definitely want to have the title officer's name in there.
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
And our contracts, like I said, we don't have the best reputation for being the neatest and cleanest and best with our contracts. Do yourself a favor, try to make your 1 to 4 residential contract as neat as possible. If it means that you need to rewrite it, go ahead and rewrite it. If you have a couple of scratch outs, it's not a big deal, then okay, but you do want to make these as neat and clean as possible. Okay, you don't want things getting lost in translation. But yeah, definitely put the title officer in there. All right, guys, that's it for today. I'm going to leave you with, I actually want to leave you guys with our affirmation because it's a great affirmation. We don't always get these awesome affirmations. Sometimes they're kind of meh, but this is a good one. This is a good one. And I want you guys to make a lot of money this week. I want you guys to be filled with abundance and wealth, and I want your cup to overflow. So let's do our affirmation one more time before we leave, and then I will let you guys go. If you guys can take yourself off of mute for a second. All right, on the count of 3, 1, 2, 3. Money flows to me freely
and easily from
unexpected sources.
I love it. Take a picture of it, write it down, keep this one in your head all week. This is a good one, I promise you guys. All right, good luck with the rest of your week. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Talk to you later. Bye. Go out there and make a lot of money.
Hey, my mom says that